Hey there, this is Erik, and today I want to talk about the art and science of apology. Apologizing, when used correctly, is an incredibly powerful tool to unlock doors which otherwise would remain closed. It's also an excellent way to display your self-confidence and leadership, although these things might sound a little counterintuitive. And in a way, in a group setting, this is even a suitable tool to disarm your opponents. However, there are right ways and wrong ways to apologize. The wrong way of apologizing oftentimes leaves an impression of weakness, of lack of confidence, whereas a well-made apology gives the impression of somebody who is able to change, confident, and good to work with. And we will also talk about how to accept an apology, which also happens to be a little bit of a complicated art. But let's start off with the benefits of apology. So why is apology such an important tool for any social interaction? I would say the main thing is that apologizing opens the door and takes down the shields in a way. Suppose you have maybe somebody with whom you have a little bit of I don't want to say conflict, but maybe like a little bit of something has to be cleaned up. And usually the mindset which you both are in is about having a shield up. So I'm all right, everything's fine on my side, the problem is on your side. And in such a frame, it's very difficult to have any meaningful interaction. You won't move closer to any kind of a solution. And how do you establish this channel through which you can now start to negotiate or figure something out? It has to start with you lowering your shields and you admitting, hey, there is something which I could improve on my side. And as a response, very often you get, okay, cool, there's also something which I can do on my side, let's collaborate. So a good apology opens up this tunnel through which you can now communicate. And in this way, it opens the doors to people who otherwise would not be willing or able to meaningfully talk with you. Now, it's also a cool tool to show your self-confidence and your ability to lead others. And that's because confidence, in its Buddhist definition, has two aspects. I am able to change and I perceive that there is a need to change. And these two are inseparable. Real confidence is the idea that there are things which should be improved, and if I decide to do this, if I invest the time, then I will become better at them. And that's a really important quality which we want to see in the leader. We want to see this growth mindset, this idea that, okay, cool, there is always possibilities to do things better. There is always possibility to give me feedback. I love your feedback. I will improve based on your feedback. And if you are able to establish that frame, then you are able to create this open culture where ideas can freely flow. People are not afraid to communicate. People are not afraid to submit suggestions and improvements. And you do this by apologizing, by showing that, hey, I have these weaknesses. Please comment on them. Please help me improve on them. And last but not least, apologizing gives you the ability to disarm your opponents. Suppose you come to a new team, you are from the get-go put in a leadership position, and you have to very quickly establish that you are somebody who can be trusted. You are somebody who people can look up to. And usually there are some things where you are not that great. For example, let's take a case where you are in an international company and maybe your position requires good French, but you do not speak that great French. Your French is kind of weak. And if you put this honesty on the table, say, hey, I have this issue with French, I'm eager to learn, I'm eager to improve, but please correct me, please help me with this. Then nobody can talk about this weakness of yours behind your back. If that's something which you are reluctant to talk about, then people will start using it against you behind your back, because they can now use it to undermine your image as a leader. By putting it on the table yourself, you disarm your opponents. Now, all of this only works if you make your apology in a proper way. And there are right ways and not so right ways. First and foremost, I am very strongly of the opinion that when it comes to apologizes, say what you mean and only mean what you say. No fake apologies. Don't apologize for things which are not worth an apology. Don't make things up in any way. And that's because if you don't apologize sincerely, it kind of undermines your words. It makes your words less credible. The more honest you are, the more weight is attributed to everything you say, especially when it comes to admitting your mistakes. Now, in order for an apology to be taken seriously, you have to be able to identify what was the causal chain which led to that problem. Just saying, hey, sorry that this happened, isn't that great of an apology. But if you're able to break it down, like, I'm sorry I was late to the meeting because my previous call went over time, or because I wasn't able to properly plan for the traffic or whatever. If you are able to show what exactly went wrong and what was the causal relationship between things, your apology now makes much more sense. And at the beginning of the causal relationship chain, you have to get something which was under your control, something to do with your thinking. Apologizing in a style of, hey, I'm sorry I was late because the bus never came, is not that useful, because there isn't anything you could do about the fact that the bus never came, and there is no reason to believe that on the next day you would be on time. But if you're able to put a little bit more causality there and explain that I was late because the bus never came and I didn't plan for a backup plan, I didn't have this time buffer in my commute time budget, which would have allowed me to either take a second bus, get a taxi or whatever. And because now not having this time buffer was something which you are responsible for, you can change this. And therefore your apology now contains the idea that something can be changed, hence there is a hope that the mistake will not be made again. And every apology needs to finish with a promise of not repeating the mistake. If you constantly apologize for things and there is no change in your behavior, then your apologies lose credibility. They don't count anymore. Now, coming to how do you receive an apology? The standard bad response is usually something like, yeah, no problem, or something, which really has two main issues with it. First of all, you don't indicate that there actually was a problem, and you kind of disregard the person's judgment about the situation. You, in a nutshell, say that they are stupid because they perceive a problem in a place where there was none. And you also leave the impression that there was no solution, that the matter is still kind of left unsolved. And for this reason, a much more sophisticated and much more fruitful response would be something which indicates that yes, there was a problem and now the problem is solved. We can now move on. The thing is done now. And for this reason, the best response which I know of uses this very specific phrase, apology accepted, I hold no grudge. apology accepted, I hold no grudge. Apology accepted means this, that yes, we acknowledge that this issue happened, we acknowledge that you have now been thinking about it, we acknowledge that there was an apology made, and I hold no grudge. I'm now able to kind of move on, the issue is closed. And of course, this means that before you are able to say something like this, you have to resolve all doubts, all questions. If you feel that the apology was never made in a sincere manner, or the causal relationships were not well explained, and it's very likely that the person is going to repeat the mistake, do not accept the apology before you have made sure that it's all covered. And once you have helped the person to kind of walk through all of this, and you believe that he or she has now done everything he or she could based on this mistake to learn from it, then you can say apology accepted, I hold no grudge, and now the case is closed. So this would be my short advice on apologizing, and I want to really emphasize that a good apology will display your confidence, because most people are too low on confidence to admit their mistakes. By raising your hand and saying, hey, I was wrong, sorry, that's the reasoning, I will do better next time, you display that you are strong enough to face your mistakes, you are strong enough to believe that you are able to improve, and this means that you are a person who others can look up to as a leader. The apologizing technique is part of a longer series of communication skills. The next one in the series will be about praising and rejoicing and honoring other people. So stay tuned for the next video where praising and honoring and rejoicing will be discussed. Cool. I hope you are now well equipped with everything you need to really go and apologize for whatever has gone wrong in a way which enhances your status, enhances your image, and makes you a better person and a better leader overall.